Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 91 of the cast. We're going to be going through the season finale of The Mandalorian tonight and any other nerdy news from the week. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zebrwolf. If you're new to the channel, please drop a subscription on the channel, leave a like on the video, and if you're watching us on a replay, leave us a comment below and let us know what you think about all the news from the week. And without further ado, here we go. Yo, what's up, dude?
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you? How are you?
I'm extremely tired, but I'm feeling great.
I can't believe my weekend's over already. Like it's
Dude,
20 past
flew
10 at
by.
night on a Sunday night, and like I'm going to bed straight after we record this. I'm done. That's it. Back to work in the morning. So it's depressing. But hey, what can you do?
Yeah,
Not a lot of nerdy news going on this week, so it might be a short one tonight. But look, we could spend an hour talking about the Mandalorian. So I don't know. We'll see.
exactly.
We'll see. I didn't think last week's one was going to be long, and we went for like an hour and a half. So I suppose anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think let's just dive straight in. The finale. What did you think? I suppose now I can ask the question: what would you give this season out of 10? How would you rate this season overall? How does it compare to the previous seasons? Before we kind of
Um.
do the nitty gritty.
Well, I would say the season it kind of fell a little flat at the end of it. I don't think it stuck the landing as well as I wanted it to. I think it did a few things that just kind of really, kind of burst my bubble and was like, I don't know. I honestly, like, as of right now, I'll give you the rating. I think I would give it like maybe a 6.5, like close to a 7, maybe. Like it's
Yeah,
teetering towards a 7. And the reason why is because they really rushed this last episode. It felt very rushed. Like it was just like answer this, answer that, answer this. All right, we're done. And a lot of the times it feels, it's just like when you said in the previous podcast, it's like it should have been a 10 episode. It should have
yeah.
just like really pulled it out, stretched forward, and got things moving in the right direction. But like, nope, that's, I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me, man. I don't know. What do you think?
Um, yeah, it's tough, bro. Like I don't like talking shit about Star Wars. Star Wars is like the longest love of my life. Like, you know what I mean? I fell in love with this stuff when I was 6 years old, and it was just it's tough for me to talk shit about the stuff that I love so dearly. But this season just really fell off compared to the like. If you just think how good the end of season two was, like season two in its entirety as well was just incredible. There was so many
Hmm.
great points in it. Nearly every episode. I think there was one episode in season two that wasn't amazing, but it was still okay. It was still watchable. I think the only criticism I had of last season was that some of the episodes just weren't long enough. That was
Yep.
like literally it. Like, I remember we were talking about we were doing podcasts back then when season two was airing, and it was just like I was just annoyed that like say there was an episode that was like 32 minutes long, and I was just like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was the only thing that I hated. It was that the episodes were too short. The frog
Right.
lady episode, yeah, chilling in the chat is right. That was the one. That was the one. That was the only one that I didn't like in season two. And even now, if you compare it to what we have now, it's so much better than what we have now. Like, I'd say
Right.
I'd nearly I'd nearly be happy to go back and watch that. But I mentioned it on the podcast last week, and it's been stuck in my head ever since. I'm not going to probably get a chance to do it for a little while, but when I do eventually do a rewatch of this, I'm not too pushed to do the rewatch, but I'm going to watch Boba Fett episode 5 and 6 as Mando 1 and 2, and then just
Hmm.
continue the season on that way. And I really do think that is how they should have done it. I
Or
know they were trying to kind of hype up the Mandalorian by putting him in Boba Fett, but I think Boba Fett could have worked better if it was its own show and they didn't just drop Mando in. It was a
right.
really weird move by Disney that they did that. I don't understand it at all. I really
Yeah.
don't. It kind of just completely destroyed the flow of that show. Like that show wasn't great to begin with, but at least it was its own thing. And then just dropping two random, incredible, by the way, Mandalorian episodes into the middle of that show just felt so weird to me.
Right.
And now it's even weirder now when you think about it, because if those two episodes were put into season three of The Mandalorian, they would probably be the best episodes of the season. Like
Hmm.
realistically, and it's just so weird that the two best episodes of Mandalorian that we've had in the last 2 years aren't even in The Mandalorian. Like, let that sink in for a second. Like, how
Right.
weird is that?
It's so
Like,
weird.
it's so weird, dude. I just don't get it. It's so fucking weird to me. Um, the episode, the final episode was better than the episode before, I think. So it
Yeah,
kind
for
of,
sure.
it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. In my head, I was thinking, "Oh my god, they're going to kill Din Djarin. He's going to die. Like it's going to be terrible." I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do after this when this show ends and he's gone and Grogu goes off into the sunset with Bo-Katan. That's where that's how I thought it was going to end.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't like that Mando just freed himself in 2 seconds without any like hesitation. It was just so easy. He was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm free now." You know, like two random guards just take off one, like two random guards just walk away with potentially one of the most dangerous Mandalorians, and it's like, oh yeah, they'll be fine. They could take him to the to the cell or whatever, and then it's like 2 seconds later, he's just free. He's broken away, and that was kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And then as well, like the whole like story with the clones, while it's kind of while it's kind of cool, again, they just kind of deleted the entire storyline in the space of 2 seconds. Like Din just
Right.
pressed a button on a control, the things exploded, and that was it. It was over. And like
Nobody
that was
nobody
three
came
seasons. Yeah.
nobody was in that room. Like shouldn't you have some guards like guarding that shit, like making sure that there's no easy way to just be like do dead. Like
Yeah.
so misinterpreted. So weird that they would like even like at least put Moff Gideon in that hallway, have them duke it out, and break a few of the pods while they're in there or something. Like actually have a scene where it matters to be in that room, other than
Yeah.
the fact that you're destroying like the clones.
It was such a weird misdirect as well, because like I think, you know, it's safe to say that most people thought that the reason why Moff Gideon was after Grogu in the first place was to potentially be creating Snoke or be working on the Palpatine clones or something like that. Like that's where we thought it was going. But then it turns out that it's like, oh, he actually is making clones of himself and he wants those clones to be force sensitive. And then in the blink of an eye, they're all dead. I saw a great theory online as well. I didn't pick up on this myself, but the Moff Gideon that we see in that final fight doesn't have a
The
mustache,
mustache. Yep.
and he had a tash in every other scene in the show. So a lot of people are saying that wasn't the real Moff that died, and he's still alive. How
More
do you
than
feel about
likely.
that?
I think that's fucking awesome though. Like that's a really good detail, because when you think about it, that guy died in a way that was literally like a B movie death. That was the worst death I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Everyone else has the coolest death. You have Darth Vader throwing Palpatine over the fucking railing. You have Darth Vader like sitting there, like taking his helmet off, tell him like you gotta go, and then the fucking the Death Star explodes.
Yeah.
You know, you have Darth Maul getting cut in half. Like, what do they do for Moff Gideon? Oh, he just stands there, it dies.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Do you know, like I understand what you're saying. Like I think he was a really cool character, but I'm kind of sick of him now, and I don't think that's Moff's fault. I think that's just the show.
Yeah,
I'm kind of just like, let him be dead nearly. Like, you know, just let's move on. Let's move on to Thrawn. Let's just get rid. Like I don't really care if Moff comes back now at this stage.
exactly. And it's exactly what Chillin says. Paz Vizsla went out like a boss compared to Moff Gideon. Paz Vizsla had some
And
good
Moff's-
shit going through.
And Moff's been the big bad of the last like 3 seasons, and he just kind of just disappears.
Yeah. Like, and it's just like I told you earlier, Finto, like organically have the character already at the beginning of the season or the show, like just have him organically go through and show him brooding, show him what he's planning on doing, and like give us a reason to give a shit that he's still around.
Yeah.
It's like they pulled a fucking Palpatine again. Like at the very end, somehow Moff Gideon is doing some shit. Like,
yeah. Bro, could you imagine if, like, you know, the way Grogu was using the Force to throw around Moff at the end? Could you imagine he Force pushed Grogu back? And just like we didn't mention anything about it, and then it's like, oh shit, this guy's got the Force.
Right.
That would have been
That
fucking
would've
pretty
been sick.
badass. But then, like, you know, then like Luke and Ahsoka got to come in to kill him, like, because no one else is going to be able to if he actually has the Force. Like,
Right.
That'd be badass now.
So one thing I guess I want to understand now is like, so is the process of the body itself in terms of cloning, does that body also get Force,
Memories
like
and
the
stuff?
will of the Force? Like, because
see, I don't know.
it just seems so convoluted. It's like it's like if you can keep cloning until you get someone who is Force sensitive, that seems very fucking broken.
And what happens, right? Let's say you're the main Alex, right?
Yeah.
And you create a clone of yourself that has the Force. Do you get rid of the original and then just like let the
Right.
clone take over? Like, how does it
Exactly.
work? Because it's like the clone's going to be so much better. Like, you're going to want to be the clone. Like, so I don't know. Is he
Right.
doing that testing to see if he can actually get the Force to actually integrate with a clone? And then if he can do that, then he replicates it on himself and he gives himself the Force.
Well,
Bro,
he
like
he
they better
he
not
also
go there because that would honestly, bro, I wouldn't like that. If people can just start like giving themselves the Force in a lab, I
well
think
that
that kind of goes against Star Wars. Like, that's kind of
exactly.
fucking ridiculous in my book.
I agree. Like that's the thing is like if you could just start generating them like it's fucking candy. Like that's ridiculous. Like what are you thinking? Like, you can't just outright create a bunch of like force sensitive people. Like what kind of chaos are you trying to ensue here? Like
Yeah.
I don't think I don't know what the writers are doing. I don't know like they're not going through the extended universe material anymore, right? Like they've scrapped all that, correct? Or are they trying to integrate that?
Um, I think they kind of like pick and pull like things that they want. Like Thrawn, for example. Thrawn is like a Legends character. So the fact
Mhm.
that he's kind of been written into like the likes of Rebels and now coming into a live action, um, that's it seems like they're kind of following Legends in that sense. But I don't imagine that they're going to actually give Luke a wife because we know what happens with Luke in the end. He just like lives in exile on a planet by himself. He
Yeah,
doesn't have a wife and kids, but
it
I don't
just
know.
but it just it's
Yeah.
cool when he does though, man, because then
Oh
he meets
yeah, Mara
Mara
Jade.
Jade and
She's such a
fucking
badass character, dude.
she is. And then
So badass.
I don't remember if it's Luke and Mara that have Cade. I can't remember which lineage Cade is from, but Cade is a Skywalker, and that's later on. And that kind of explains the whole idea of a gray Jedi,
Mm,
because he both walks in the ways of the dark side and the light, and he actually like this whole talk about like with Anakin and Darth Sidious where it's like you can even bring people back to life. Cade fucking does that in the extended universe books. Like it's
that's
just the
crazy.
fucking coolest shit ever because like person dies, they're like what do I he's like what do I do, and he actually puts his force into that person and like brings them back to life, and it's the sickest fucking thing. And they took that away when they had episode 9 because Ben decided oh, I know how to revive people now. And it's
Yeah.
just, ugh, oh, you took that away from me, man. I wanted that with Cade.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's a lot of legend stuff that's really cool. Like I liked there was an original script that I read years ago for like episodes 7, 8, and 9, and it was all around Luke's son, whose name was Ben. It was Ben Skywalker and Anakin Solo. And it was like one of the cousins, like they were both cousins, obviously, and it was like one of the cousins turned to the dark side, and the other one had to kind of like try and bring him back and stuff. I was thinking, like, Jesus, bro, like I would love to see that like in live action, and I thought that was kind of maybe where they were going to go, and I suppose they kind of did with Ben Solo a little bit in the sequel trilogy, but just wasn't as good. Like I think
Yeah,
if Ray was related to somebody, I think it would have just made the stakes a lot more higher instead of them throwing in a stupid like kind of love story with the two of them in the last one. Like I'll never forget like when I saw the two of them kiss for the first time. I'm like, why the hell are they kissing? They hate each other. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah.
did I fall asleep and miss an hour of storytelling? Like, what the hell is happening here? It was ridiculous, dude. Like, so I don't know, bro. Like, I love the Mara Jade story. For anybody in the chat who doesn't know, like she basically is hired by who hires her? Is it Tron or somebody hires her? I can't remember who hires her. But she has a mission to kill Luke Skywalker. She's like kind of a dark Jedi slash Sith herself, and
Mhm.
then she's given a mission to kill Luke. But then she ends up falling for Luke, but there's a clone of Luke going around as well, and she basically it's programmed into her, like she's like kind of brainwashed to kill Luke, and she can't like live until she fulfills this mission. So they end up getting her to kill the clone of Luke, and then it kind of snaps her out of it because she technically killed Luke because she killed
Mhm.
a clone of him, and then she ends up falling in love with Luke, and they have kids and stuff. It's fucking wild, dude. Like I would
Right.
love to see it. I would love to see that sort of stuff. And they just with the way that they went with the sequels, they've kind of they've put themselves in a corner where they can't do cool shit like that. Like unless you do something wild in Ahsoka where she goes into like the world beyond or whatever, and then comes out in a different timeline, and the sequels don't exist. They do a fucking multiverse thing on it.
which I mean, fucking.
I love it, but that doesn't work for Star Wars. I'm sorry.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. It's gonna
Yeah.
make everything so fucking muddy, and I would hate that.
Yeah.
100%.
I'd like to see it just for the crowd reaction. Like, imagine all the sequel simps. Like, imagine how they would just go crazy. That the fact that it's kind of like what the DC people are doing now. Like, you know, the fact that like James Gunn's coming in and he's basically retconning Snyder stuff and restarting and stuff. Like, that'd be like that Disney coming in and actually like going, okay, we made a mistake. We're gonna actually go to a different, just sidestep here to another timeline or to another universe. And like some people would just go wild, bro. They'd hate it. They would hate it.
But a part of me at the same time would also be okay if there were two, like it wasn't just a multiverse, but just like a parallel universe, like two timelines. That's it. That's it. Have one where it's like, this is what we think would happen if we didn't have the sequel trilogy. And then the other one, which is, this is with the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And I know it can get convoluted, but like, I would love to see like what they can do with like, let's say they use that other timeline for the books. And then they try the books route, and they're just like, this is just the books route. Like, what? Imagine if that's better, and then they're like, oh shit, maybe we should have listened to the
I think they're so far gone though with it now, and the fact that they're doing like another Rey movie as well, I think just like it's
fine.
They've got to stick with their guns now. Like, you know, they've chose this path, they got to stick with it. Like,
yeah. But
so to kind of roll back into the Mandalorian just for a minute, what did you think of the end of the episode? Like, where it kind of looks like Din's working for the Republic, and you know, him and Grogu have their own little house now, and you know, they're kind of, it's kind of as if the way I understood it and the way I took the show was this. It felt to me like that was a bit of a goodbye. It felt like a goodbye for them. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced that the next season of that show doesn't revolve around Din and Grogu. Like, they're off in the universe doing their own shit. They're doing their own missions now. They're just kind of helping out the Republic whenever they choose, taking on the missions that they want. And when they don't want to do anything, they're just sitting with their feet up, doing nothing. That's the way it kind of feels to me. Like, it feels like Din's retired. How did you take that? Like, do you like, because like again, like it's like they're Rangers for the New Republic or whatever. Like now, you know,
right? I would say it is almost feeling like an open and shut case kind of thing. Like, we're done. Let's get out of here. Like I said, dude, it sped up everything. Got the episode done and said, that's the end of the season. Good night. Literally closing in and being like, that's it. That's all, folks. And it's like, all right, well, I don't know. Like they want to move forward, right? With season 4 and 5. So
they say,
right? Yeah, and it's just, to me, that's literally a way for them to say like, okay, so if for anything goes down, for any reason we can't get Pedro Pascal back, or if we have to change characters, we have time now because he's just resting. You know, he's just sitting up, waiting for the next mission to come about. And I think that it's just basically a resting period for him. But there was a question by Andre. He's like, would you like to see Din and Grogu going on side quests, or you want to see them training? And to be honest, I would like to see training, but I kind of want it to shoot into the, like, further into the future, like way into the future, like maybe 300 years.
I saw some concept art, and it was like Grogu wearing a helmet, and he's holding a lightsaber in one hand and a gun in the other, and he's got it looks nearly like a Predator helmet, like it's crazy looking. And I would love to see that. Again, you need to leave everything behind, like, you know what I mean? Like, Grogu's not going to be able to hold a lightsaber, I'd say, for another 400 years, and every person that he knows is going to be dead by then. You know what I mean? Right. So yeah, you got to jump way into the future for that sort of stuff.
Exactly. So that's what I want. I want it to shoot far into the future, like 400 or 500 years, so that he's now an adult. He's fully grown. He's able to wear a full suit of Mandalorian Beskar armor with the gun, like you said, and a saber. Like, I don't care how he gets it. And I would love for him to just go on about doing exactly what Din Djarin did in the past, and being like a bounty hunter or a hero for hire kind of situation, but also get, like, flashbacks and like retrospectives of things that he's learned from Din Djarin. So like you get those little moments of like, remember what I taught you this. So like when you get those moments where he's caught in a trap or he's like fighting a monster and things look very like dire, then it
Yeah.
goes to like a little bit of a flashback, like kind of like anime style in a sense, because I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of anime. Like
Hmm.
if you go into that back step and be like, remember what I taught you, and you show like this short scene of Din shooting him, like showing him how to quick shoot,
Yeah.
or like showing him how like his gadgets work, or showing him like, this is what you do while you're wearing the armor. I think that would be very fluid. And then
Hmm.
you see like it goes back to that point where he's like, oh yeah, I could totally do this, and he like breaks out of it.
Yeah.
And that could be moments where like that's the story that unfolds. Now we're so far into the future, and now Grogu is the Mandalorian.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I I kind of feel like I wouldn't be shocked if when the show returns, it's not really the Mandalorian. The next season's called Bo-Katan or something, and it's
Hmm.
supposed to be a continuation of the storyline. And Din might pop in for 1 or 2 episodes, something like that. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I think in the same breath, I think this could actually be a bit of a good point to kind of revert back to like the original storytelling. Because now it's like everything seems to be done. They've kind of washed their hands of everything and they're kind of taking on the missions that they want to take on. So I suppose you could do a season with Din again, and that season could revolve around them just doing bounties around the universe. Like, and it kind of gets back to basics.
Hmm.
And I wonder, did they go a bit too crazy with the story? And now they're using this as a kind of reset point, and now they're going to go back and go, actually, let's just go back to the two of them together, just kind of traveling the galaxy, you know?
Hmm. Um, I mean, geez, like it's just reached a point where I think you and I have said it. Hoffman has said it in the past. Like it's time to kind of get out of this whole like this episodic interquel situation where we're always in between the episodes. We're always just in between the Skywalker saga in the sense. And it's time for us to move back. Like I'm really excited to see more of like the Old Republic, or even that rumored like birth of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that. Like also, yeah, I saw that as well. Like if he's ready to go in 50 years, I'm down for that.
Like, yeah, he's about 52 at the moment. But to be honest, he's still like a child. Like, he's an infant. Like,
Mhm.
can't talk. I saw a few people put up clips and it was like, it looked like he was saying stuff backwards and stuff. And like at one point, he said, it looks like he says, or it sounds like he says thank you or thanks or something. It's like,
Mhm.
I didn't pick up, or I didn't think that he was talking, but maybe it sounded like he was saying some words. But I think he has a long way to go, especially before he could start training people. Like, if he was to go down the Jedi route, like,
Right.
it's crazy to think about it. But imagine he did stay with Luke, he'd need like 50 years to get to Yoda's level. Like, Luke's
Mhm.
probably not even going to be alive that long. So who would train him next? Like, Luke's probably dead. you know.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry,
But
we know Luke's dead. If it goes down the route of the sequels,
right. Yes.
Luke has what, 10 years, 15 years before he goes off into exile. So it's like, what's Grogu going to learn in 10 years? I don't even think he'll be able to speak in 10 years.
No. And from what I'm looking at in the biology, yeah, it just shows that like within the first 50 years, if Grogu's still an infant, then like it's going to take maybe about another 50 to 100 years before he even reaches adolescence. So
Yeah.
like it's to think that Yoda was training at age 50, that then he's literally a genius. Like at that
I
point.
think he was at 100. I think he died when he was like 900. I think he was 900 years
Okay.
old when he
All
died. So,
right.
but even still, at 100 to be training Jedi, like, he was probably figured out at that time, because during those times it would probably, if like babies were like figured out to have the Force, they'd just be sent straight off to be Jedi. Like, there was none of this kind of secrecy shit like there is in the timeline that we're in now. Whereas it's like kids are running away from the fact. Whereas they'd be embracing the fact that it's like, this guy's sensitive in the Force. Let's get him. Let's train him up to be a Jedi. So I would say Grogu or Yoda was probably training from the age of 4 or 5. So he had like 95 years of training as a Jedi before he probably became a master himself and then started teaching himself. Or,
Yeah.
well, I suppose, do you
Well,
start teaching when you're a knight? Yeah, you're a knight. You get an apprentice. Like, so he probably would have had an apprentice in his first 100 years, and
right.
that's probably what he means by training. So training a Jedi is he probably took an apprentice at the age of 80 or something like that. You know what I
Well,
mean?
Yeah, I just found it. It says he was around a century old when he started training other Jedi.
Yeah, yeah.
So assuming now if he's in this if Grogu's in his 50s, we just need about another maybe 25 to 30 years and then we'll see him, probably in adult stage and then maybe like I'm
Well,
assuming I'm
think
assuming with
think about what you're saying for a second. 30 years time from where we are now is the sequels, and
yeah,
Grogu is not around. And if he is around, he's hiding somewhere. He's not training Jedi. There is no Jedi. It's only Luke lost on a fucking planet, and Rey popping up out of nowhere, and Finn. There's no Jedi Order, or if there is,
right.
or if there is, it's a very secret Jedi Order that doesn't exist in the movies. But what's going to happen then in Rey's movie takes place 15 years after the events of Episode 9. So what, has she started her own thing, or has she found Grogu and joined up with his? It's, I don't know. And I still think
Well,
when we see, because I presume we're going to see Grogu in these movies and it'll be explained where he was that whole time, but I still think he's going to be a young teenager. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Like, I think they need to keep the baby Grogu thing going literally as long as possible. I don't think anybody wants
I-
to see a moody teenage Grogu, like, you know.
No, and we're not really going to see that. I highly doubt that. I think we're going to see an adult age Grogu, and I understand that you're saying that we didn't see him in the sequel trilogy, but you have to understand. So when we're dealing with the galaxy, so it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's that a solar system and a galaxy are different. So you have different systems within the galaxy. So that's what you hear a lot, right? Like you hear the Mandalore, the systems of Mandalore. So then there's other systems that he can go about, but he's with it. He's might still be within the same galaxy.
Yeah,
So to say that he's not around or he's in hiding, I think that's kind of like an overstatement. I think it's more so like he's just in a different area of the galaxy that's not dealing with that situation right now. And
yeah.
yeah, so when we see that, like at that point, if you were to go about 30 to 40 years further, then Grogu's already an adult. Din Djarin is old. I don't know how well humans age or Mandalorians age compared. Like I know Jedi, they age quite slowly because they're force sensitive. It I think that it would be plausible to make Din Djarin old and just start doing a Grogu story, but like still have this kind of like mentor situation if you want to go that route. But I honestly believe that this show needs a huge time skip, a huge jump to give us
I
like to
yeah.
get us out of there.
I think if you're going to do a massive time jump, it'd be quite interesting to do a Grogu show set 500 years in the future, and then you just have a blank. It's a blank slate. The
Yeah,
only character that you have is Grogu. Everybody else is gone. You can literally start again. I
yep,
would, if I was like a director or a writer in Hollywood and I wanted to be a part of Star Wars, I'd be trying to get involved in that sort of thing, because
yeah,
that's like very interesting, because it's, again, it's where you can get creative. It's where you can create a bunch of new characters, new Jedi's, new Sith, whatever. Like, the universe can be within in whatever state you want at that stage. And I think it'd just be so cool to have all these potential young Jedi talking about, like, the legends of Anakin Skywalker and the legends of Luke.
yeah,
And then for Grogu to be like, ah, yes, yes, I trained with Luke. I knew Anakin as well. Like, they were all great. They were a great bunch of lads, you know?
yeah.
So I think that'd be fucking savage. And I think that'd be really, really cool for them to kind of just reinvent the wheel here, like, and just kind of have Grogu as a kind of focal point back to this time, but just be able to literally do whatever they want.
Well, that and the amount of centuries that you're saying, like for 500 years, there has to be a massive Jedi and Sith. There has to be battles that ensue between them. There has to be new legends that take place in between. And I think that to me is the essence of Star Wars is creating legends and then having those legends unfold in the form of like, well, let's recreate that legend somehow. So
Yeah.
like you have a Jedi that just like came about, 100 years after the Skywalker saga and he managed to like find in a mass of like Sith lords that were like actually on a planet and were planning to like take over and whatnot, and so like creating an army, used Jedi's and like had a large scale war, Had nothing to do with the Empire, had nothing to do with the New Republic, nothing. It was just Jedi's like doing their thing.
Yeah.
It,
So there's a chat in the conversation, or there's a conversation in the chat right now happening just about kind of Ahsoka and Grogu and stuff like that. And my understanding is that Ahsoka can be heard in episode 9 speaking to Rey through the Force. So I think Ahsoka's dead. I think we're gonna see her probably die in the Dave Filoni movie. I think that'd be quite a poetic place for her to go, because Dave was the one who created her. So to be, if anyone should kill her, I think it should be Dave. It's his character, you know. So I think like that might be a good way, like, imagine Thrawn kills her or something like that, and then Luke avenges her or something by killing Thrawn. I think that'd be a pretty cool way to go with it. I don't really know what's going to happen with the unknown region. I heard a rumor that that's where the villains that we see in the Ahsoka trailer, they have like orange kind of lightsabers. They're not really Sith. And I think Dave Filoni had said something along the lines of like, they're not who you think they might be. So, it's to be kind of, to be understood
ambiguous.
It's kind of to be understood that they're Sith, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're Dark Jedis or something like that. And I saw someone theorize that they could potentially be from like the unknown region and from a different time. So they could be getting pulled out of time, say from like the Old Republic or something like that, and pulled into the current timeline. Like that'd be fucking wild, dude. Because I think like the girl, I think her name is Shin. I think you can see she has like a Padawan braid in her hair and stuff. So it's like that's the Jedi way, not the Sith way. So I think they could be like Dark Jedi, or maybe just Jedi that have like orange lightsabers instead of red or something. Like I think it's like a misdirect. I think we're gonna think they're one thing, but actually they're another.
Right. One thing I wanted to ask is like, did we talk about the lightsaber color? I think they signify that it looks more orange, like just an orange colored saber rather than a red one.
Yeah, I definitely spoke. I don't know if we spoke about it here. I was definitely speaking to people about it. I don't know if it was on my stream or if it was in DMs or something, but I'm always talking about this shit somewhere. You know what I mean? And I think Dave Filoni someone had said it to him in an interview before Celebration, and he was like, "Oh yeah, good eye, yeah." Like because they had said like the lightsabers don't look really red. Like what's going on? And he was like, "Fair play, you're the first person to notice it." But yes, he's like, it is done intentionally. I think he had mentioned that when he had first seen episode like 4 when he was a kid or something, like he's like, there's shots of Darth Vader's lightsaber where it's orange sometimes, and in some of the posters it's orange. And he wanted to kind of pay homage to like the original Star Wars by putting some orange lightsabers in there. So, but I think story-wise, I think they might be there for a reason. I think that these guys are actually from a different time, or they're not Sith, they're like Dark Jedis or something like that,
Okay.
I think that there will be a reason. There will be reason behind it. Again, I'm just speculating. I don't know.
Yeah, of course. And I guess like the term Dark Jedi.
Chillin says survivors of Order 66 that fled to the new beyond and went dark. I like it. But I would like them to be from like a further back time. Like imagine they were from like the High Republic comics or something, or they were from the Old Republic storylines or something like that. I think it would be even cooler if they were from even further back. Like if they're from like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm kind of sick of the Order 66 shit. Like there's a lot of like, we're seeing Order 66 popping up in every show. You know what I mean? And like, yes, it's cool. It's a cool time.
It was one of the biggest events.
Yeah, of course. But at the same time, I'm like, can we talk about something else? You know what I mean? Vader's dead. You know what I mean? Dude, the guy who did Order 66 is dead. You know what I mean? Let's move on.
I've been saying the same thing about everything. Like Hoffman was saying the same thing about everything. Like you have been saying the same thing about certain things.
Yeah.
It's time for us to move on from that whole section itself. Like that's over. Everything's said and done.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I do like the idea that they fled to the new beyond and went dark. Like, I think that's interesting to say that the Dark Jedi are a thing again, because Dark Jedi started, way back then on a planet that eventually transformed into like Sith, and that's how you create Sith. But in terms of this, like if they're just Dark Jedi, they're just like a darker form of like, they're kind of like chaotic, like what's the word? Chaotic good, where it's like, yeah, they're Jedi, but they don't believe in doing things the exact right way as a lawful good, Jedi. It it seems a little convoluted in my head. I'm trying to like piece it together, and I don't think it's working out too well. But like, I would like to see how they would signify the term Dark Jedi at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah, Korriban.
I would love, love, love a fucking an old Republic storyline. The Knights of the Old Republic games were just, I was lost in those games for
Mhm.
fucking months and months and months on end. Just absolutely loved them. Like going to Dantooine, to the old like Jedi temple, and you're like you're running around the universe, and it's like 1,000 years before Episode 1. It's just, it was wild to me at the time, And even now, like, I just really think that they do need to tackle this timeline in live action, hopefully. But I'd be happy with it even in animation at this stage. But I think
Mhm.
they really do need to start telling some stories. And to be fair, it does look like we're getting something from that era in Vision Season 2 by the looks of it. Because it looks like, is it Malik, or I can't remember, is it Malik or Raven that has or Revan, sorry, that has the mask? I can't remember.
Revan,
The
I
one,
believe, has the mask because it's supposed to be.
doesn't one of them have the mask that covers his face? He has like a damaged face or something, like a part of his
Oh,
mouth missing or something. Is that
that's
Malik?
Malik. Yeah,
Malik,
that's
yeah.
Malik.
I
Yeah.
think Malik is seen in the trailer, if I'm not mistaken, or one of them anyway. I just saw someone and I was like, oh my god, Old Republic. So yeah, I think that's I think they need to go there. They really do. Like, that's where it's got to go. Has to happen.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like I said before in previous podcasts, I would love to see just the birth of the Dark Jedi in terms, or like the birth of the Sith and the development of the Sith, rather than consistently just going into Jedi ways. I'm happy to do the Jedi ways. I always like the timelines for the Jedi's. I think they're cool, but I really want to see like all the Sith lore. Like I said before, there's artifacts, there's temples, there's maps, there's things that they have, there's treasures, untold, literal gold stories that you can talk about with Sith
yeah,
that would just be so fucking impressive because of the fact that there used to be many, and then it became the rule of two, and then it became the rule of one, and then they're gone right now, in a sense, which means that there's an imbalance in the force,
I was about
which
to
is
bring up
why
balance. Yeah,
right. And so now
there
we're
always has to be balance, right? Because like,
exactly.
if Rey goes and creates a brand new Jedi Order and she has 10 Jedi's, like, there technically should be 10 Sith, but there probably won't be.
Dude, Vito, it just made me think of those commercials. One in every 10 Jedi may be a Sith.
Yeah.
Get tested today.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, what's the next Star Wars project we have is Visions, which is out on May the 4th. Which again, like, you know what I mean? I'll watch that in an hour. Like, that's not really
Oh yeah.
something to look forward to. Do we have a release date for Ahsoka yet? Because
Um
Ahsoka is kind of what I think might be the savior. Like, I'm kind of hyped up for this as if I was for like Mando season 2. Like, I really think that because this is Dave Filoni, I really think that this is the one. This is kind of Star Wars last chance for me right now. This is like, I'm
August
holding all hope on this.
Gotcha. August 2023 is when it's supposed to be released.
Okay, that's a good bit away.
Yeah. That's a late summer, so they have plenty of time during the fall to give us some gold. Hopefully
Yeah.
it turns up. I know you're very like positive about it, and I'm pretty sure you might be right. You said that Dave Filoni is going to be working extensively on it,
He wrote and
and
directed it, I believe, the whole thing, as far as I know.
so with what you've told me before, a lot of the episodes from different shows that involved Dave Filoni writing it and directing it, or just writing it, have been naturally gold. So I'm going to hold you up to that.
Mm.
And when the show starts, if I'm not crying, this is crap.
Yeah, I think, like, Mando's been one thing, and just like, the fact that Dave's kind of like touched a few episodes, written a few here, like directed one or a couple of them, and they've been good. But I think this is his baby. You know, Ahsoka's always been his greatest creation, the character he kind of looks after the most. Like season 7, I don't know if you've seen season 7 of Clone Wars. The
No.
last four, like just watch the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars. It just links in perfectly with episode 3, and it's a masterpiece, man. It's an
Mhm.
absolute masterpiece, and it's kind of Ahsoka's story there, kind of come to an end, and just so beautiful the way it just links in. But I think that there's a section on Disney Plus called like Ahsoka's most important episodes or something like that. Um, and I would recommend just watching that. Like, don't watch the whole show because there are boring episodes in there. I don't care what anybody says. Like some of Clone Wars is shit. Like stuff that just revolves around the clones, I always find boring. But there's like episodes around that. Like some of the best Anakin stories are told in Clone Wars. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Some amazing Obi-Wan stories, some amazing Darth Maul stories, Ahsoka obviously, and then like Rebels is good as well. Like there's loads of good stories there, but season 7, man, it's just different gravy altogether. It really is. Like, and I'm not a big anime fan, but Jesus Christ, those last 4 episodes were just incredible, absolutely mind blowing stuff. And like the last scene of the episode of the series, I won't tell you what it is, but like I was actually emotional watching it, and I'm fucking sitting watching a cartoon as an adult. I was like, this is
So,
crazy.
so some of the stuff that I've watched previously, just randomly, was a fight scene between Ahsoka and as I recall, Darth Vader, um, and some sort of pyramid that was there. Like there, I think Ahsoka's telling him to go, and
Oh, I think
she's going to hold off Vader.
that's in Rebels. I
That's in
think
Rebels. Okay.
she where Ahsoka's fighting Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's in Rebels. So Clone Wars takes place between episodes 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rebels takes place between between 4 and 5. No, sorry, between 3 and 4. So the time around like when Obi-Wan Kenobi is and stuff. So that 10-year mark before the original movie is when Rebels takes place. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so no, the Clone Wars is the 2 years between episode 2 and 3.
Okay.
But like the amount of
Gotcha.
development that you get for Anakin's character in those episodes, like I'm sure if you Google it, what are Anakin's best episodes in Clone Wars, just get that list and just watch it. It's mind
Yeah.
blowing.
Oh yeah.
Mind
Like
blowing.
I've even seen the one where he basically fakes out the droids and
Mm.
tries to call in a truce,
Yeah.
which is essentially a war crime if you fake them out and like tell them like, hey, I'm willing to do a truce, and then they fucking kill them.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Nah, they're
big ass
droids.
war crime.
They're droids. It's fine. They're not real. Now there's some really fucking cool stories with Anakin, like where there's one where he goes into the Force. It's a really weird episode, but it's just beautifully told, and you can
Mhm.
see, like he's seeing visions of himself in dark clouds, and you kind of get a shape of the Vader helmet. Obviously, he doesn't know what it means, but we know what it means, and it's
Mhm.
just the conflict is just it's just art, man. It's fucking incredible. It's really really good. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. Ah, dude.
I saw Secret
I'm still
Invasion was brought up in the chat.
yeah.
I don't know if you want to just sidestep off Star Wars because I don't really have anything else to say about Star Wars right now.
Yeah, I
What
know. I mean, we could speculate about Secret Invasion.
like what do you think? Do you think this show is going to be good? Like I really hope it is. I hope it's
I
just not another Phase 4 kind of show. You know what I mean? Like I really hope
right.
it's I really hope it's a kind of turning the page and starting a new direction with these stories because they're just not working.
Right. I think that with Samuel Jackson being in the show itself, we'll give it a bump. But as we all remember in Captain Marvel, it helped, but it didn't quite make the cut.
Yeah,
So it's another one of those things where I'm kind of not hopeful after the whole shenanigans with She-Hulk.
yeah.
Craziest thing, dude. I looked up, like, we'll go into Secret Invasion in just a second, but I looked up IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes for like She-Hulk. People like general, like in IMDb, it's got like a 6. It's got like a 6.2 or something like that. In Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like 80%, which is like it's fucking bananas. I don't understand
That was
how.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right, but
What
at the
has
same time,
80%? Sorry.
She-Hulk.
Oh my god, yeah, no, I don't.
I,
I think, I think
it,
there's I think there's agendas behind that. To be honest, it's the
right,
whole fucking girl power shit. Like, I think
but
that's what's happening there. You know what I
but
mean? It's
I'm
not.
okay. Like I get it. I get
Yeah,
it, dude. Like I understand, and like it sucks to say this as a guy, but I'm more than okay with the girl power thing. Like I'm more than okay with like girls are strong too and kind of situation. What I'm not okay with is the fact that you're trying to shove this girl power shit in me,
hmm.
and at the same time tell me that She-Hulk needs a relationship. So what kind of agenda are you trying to run with this? Like
Bro,
I'm not.
I saw an
It,
amazing TikTok where they were talking about like, and they showed comparisons. I wish I could had it right now. I'd put it up on the screen, but they were showing comparisons of like men writing women's stories and like them being amazing, and then it's just like women writing women's stories, and it's just like twerking and fucking bullshit,
it
So it's like they talk about all this like sexism in Hollywood and stuff like that, but the best like female driven stories are actually written by men. Like all the comic books, I don't know. Are there women writers in comic books? I don't even know.
yes, there.
There definitely wasn't probably when a lot of these characters were being created. I can't imagine there was too many women in the writers' room for comic books back then. You know what I mean? And
Probably not.
all these legendary stories are written by men. So I don't see why we need to have women producing and directing and writing these shows just for the sake of having women behind the cameras and writing on the page. Like men are able to write amazing female stories as well.
Right. Of
You know what I
course.
mean?
So
They're the
that's
ones
so
that relate
that's
to me a lot more. You know what I mean?
right.
Like the original like Black Widow movie in like all of Black Widow's appearances in the MCU were fucking incredible. And I saw a great joke where someone was saying, like, where they do that scene in Endgame where they bring all the girls together. She won't be alone. She's got us. And all the girls do that slow mo shit. It was awful, but
It was awful.
it was terrible.
It's not fun.
Or
Like
I think
it's
they do it in Infinity War. I think they did it when Black Widow was still alive. There's a
it's
scene where they do it where Black Widow's still alive. And someone was like, "Where's Black Widow?" And someone wrote, "She's too
right.
busy being a main character."
Well, like it
It's so
one of
true
the
though.
right, but one of the interesting things about that, and like I'll go in the steps that you were just talking about. I want to address each one. You were saying that the some of the greatest like women stories like in comic book history were done by men. That's true. Do you want to know why? Because the men wanted heroes.
Facts.
The men knew what a hero meant like they knew what they were going to write for, and they knew that it was going to be driven as a superheroine who needed to be strong and independent and not need to be in a relationship at the moment. Yes, they get into relationships later on, but they have to establish themselves as heroes first. And that's the strong point. You establish them as heroes, you make them strong, you make them likable, and then you give them relationships.
Yeah.
The writers today who are writing and directing these shows, like for She-Hulk, it could have gone well if they had understood the agenda, and they did not. What I remember reading in one of the articles was that the story writer was saying, "Well, I want to write a real story about women as superheroes," but she only wrote a real story about a woman struggling to like be seen. And
Yeah.
but that's not the case anymore. It's absolutely not the case. We have had multitudes of movies and shows where the women are badass. Like Moon Knight, like Scarlet Scarab,
Mm.
badass. Like that
Yeah.
character was cool, and they could have showed her a lot more. I would have loved to see more of her. For Black Widow, cool character. Didn't real like yes, like she had the suit and all, but like even Scarlett Johansson was like, "Hey, I don't want to show off too much. Like I want it to be like presentable. I want to be like a symbol of like justice and whatnot. Like I want to be a hero." The same thing
Yeah.
with Scarlet Witch. Like I don't want to show cleavage. I just want to be a hero. And they did that, and they did that for them because they knew how important it was for these characters to be seen as heroes and villains at certain points. And
Yeah.
so like it worked. You like Multiverse of Madness, it worked because Scarlet Witch was believable to be like a villain and to be
That was
hatred.
such a great story, dude. I
Right.
really love that film.
Right. Did like And it was her, like, and it was her kids, but it's her family. That's what she perceives. That's something that she really wanted within her life. But we had already established her as a character that was evil, but then became good. So then we have that whole perspective of like, okay, she's a powerful character. She-Hulk didn't do that. Like the
Yeah,
writer wanted to write a woman's story just about a woman, not a hero, a woman.
yeah,
And like, cool, do that maybe in the third season, but not now. You got to
yeah,
put him out there as a hero.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
matters.
Yeah, hundred
It,
percent,
it it's it's
hundred
it's
percent.
it's insane.
Yeah. Andre just said this in the chat, which I thought was quite interesting. Feige wants some quality directors for the next movies,
Oh, dude,
and I
but
think yes, they do. They
I
need
am
to.
I am
They need to.
100% on that.
Yeah,
Also, don't let your directors be story writers if they haven't written shit that was good in a long
yeah,
time,
yeah.
because Taika Waititi fucked up. Like,
Big time.
he did not write Ragnarok. He did
Yeah.
not write it. He directed it, which he did a good job, but he did not write it.
Mhm.
When they gave him the ability to write it in Love and Thunder, guess what? It tanked.
It was yeah. Well, like he's a comedian, and he just went too jokey with it, and was given way too much free reign. Like the fact that he put forward like a 4 hour cut of that movie, and they were just like, "This is insane. What are you talking about? Get it down to less than 2 hours." Like
Right.
it must have been just it must have been shit because like it's not as if like people don't want to sit through a movie for 2.5 nearly 3 hours. Like that's kind of the norm now. When I'm sitting in the cinema and it's over in less than 2 hours, I feel weird. I'm like, what the fuck, the movie's over already. Like
Mhm.
the regular, like the normal runtime is 2 hours 30, 2 hours 40 now.
Mhm.
Like that's standard. So
And
it must have been really bad for them to be like, get this fucking shit under 2 hours, please. Like,
right. And I don't know if they do focus groups for that, right? Like
yeah.
who do they pick for these focus groups?
I don't
Like,
know. They
really,
must be
honestly, who
diehard
do they?
Taika Waititi fans. Like it's like, yeah, bro, it's great. Haha, it's so funny.
And but I get it. I get it, man. You don't want to upset like your people making movies and whatnot, but you also need to be like brought
Yeah,
down a peg if you think you're so high up there.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like like it's one of those moments where, I remember seeing the videos on YouTube where they show like the deleted scenes and whatnot. You see that deleted scene between Thor and Zeus, and how they're talking to one another and like having this like introspective and this deep dialogue about like what matters
yeah,
and why he can't go with them. Like, why didn't you have that there? Oh, because we wanted it to be very silly and funny and have Thor be naked for a bit, and have Thor throw a lightning bolt at Zeus and hurt
I
him
was,
and knock him
I was,
out.
I was pissed off when I saw Zeus in the skirt and all. I was just like, this is fucking bullshit. I'm like, we're getting Russell Crowe in the MCU. I was like, holy shit, this is going to be amazing. And they like had
They
him
put him
rocking around.
in a
Yeah,
skirt, yeah.
they put him in a skirt, like dancing around like a fucking gobshite. I was like,
Right.
what have they done? And then Christian Bale, like one of the best actors of our generation, like we know he's an incredible actor, and they just like cut half of his scenes. He said in an interview, both him and Natalie Portman said in interviews for the press tour of this movie, going, "Oh, geez, we're after seeing the movie, and like half of our scenes aren't in it, and they were amazing scenes. They were great scenes. Like fucking release a
But
director or like release a fucking extended cut. Put this in.
dude,
Needed more
my
gore. Yes, fact, fact. I
my
just literally said it.
honestly, my favorite scene in that movie was Gore talking to each character and giving them a reason to be doubtful and to have like malice and to be like resentful for what they're doing and to regret and to
Yeah,
be like in the dark about their feelings. And because that's a villain that wants to bring down your morale as well as kill you.
yeah,
And that's exactly what Thanos is. Like, he wants to bring down your morale, he wants to kill you, he wants to make things the way he wants to, like he envisions it. And Gore was doing that, but it just went these weird directions, and it was so hard to keep up.
dude's
But
name
that
is Gore the God Butcher, and we saw him kill one god at the very start of the movie, and that was it.
Yep. And then every other god was reported as killed.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
Just
was
like we
like, what the
saw,
fuck?
we saw bodies on the ground, but like no fights, no nothing. Like I would have loved to seen him put that sword through like some god's skulls. Like why not?
Yeah. I
That's
would have
what we're here for.
exactly. And like I would have been so happy to have at least seen maybe a couple of characters that like give us an Easter egg. Give us like, oh, he went to kill, I don't know, Poseidon.
Yeah,
He went to kill like some other gods, not of the like the main Olympian pantheon. Just do that. Just do that. Like you
yeah,
don't even have to deal with the Asgardian pantheon.
yeah.
Like it just like I I don't know how well we can write these movies, but I damn sure know that we would write it better than this.
I think so too. Like honestly, I've never written anything in my life, but I really think that if I was to sit down with like you and Half and a few other people in a room and a few like of these like writers, I'm sure we could just shoot the shit for 2 hours and put together something better
Yeah.
than what these guys are doing. Like honestly,
And
I
then
don't. I'd love to listen. I'd love to sit in a corner in like one of these meeting rooms and listen when they're talking about what they're putting through for these plots when they're writing these stories. And I just be like, no, no, no. Okay, yeah, let's use that. Let's expand that. No,
exactly.
no, no. Like, what are you thinking? It's just awful. It's really, really bad. Like, and the fact that like some of these people that Disney are hiring at the moment, and again, I pray that what Andre said in the chat is right. That Feige's looking for quality directors. They need to be looking for quality writers as well, and they need to be looking for writers who actually know the source material. Because I can't remember what project it was. Was it She-Hulk or it was some one project? I think it was WandaVision as well. Um, it was like when WandaVision came out, one of the writers was asked about Mephisto or something, and they were like, "I don't even know who Mephisto is." Like, and and
That's
then like
horrible.
yeah, and then like, you get people
Horrible.
that's just like they don't know who they're unaware of who like characters are in Star Wars. They're unaware of who characters are in the MCU and stuff. And it's just like, how can you hire people to write canon for your fucking for your IP like, and they don't know the source material?
Right.
It's mind blowing to me.
Exactly. It's just like when you and I talk right now. So you know much more than me on Star Wars history. You know much more than me on Star Wars lore. But that doesn't mean I can't do research before we talk.
Of
So
course,
like,
of course.
like if I came in here never reading a thing, never knowing a thing, and just being completely oblivious, it'd be all it. This would be a one-sided talk. Like it'd be me
Yeah,
just interviewing you, and I
exactly,
like it doesn't make sense. Like we're here to like
exactly.
give our introspective. I don't know why I love that term. I keep saying that.
I like it.
But it's just yeah, it's fucking stupid. That's exactly chilling. Like it's dumb. Like you don't go in you don't do a presentation and not do your research. Like
I was just thinking of other examples of like crazy shit that I heard, but do you remember I think it's been cancelled since, but they were doing a remake of the Knights of the Old Republic game. They were remastering it.
mhm.
And apparently the head developer had either said that they hated the first game or they never even played it or they hadn't got a clue or something. And I was just like, hang on a second, like you're the lead developer working on this game, which is a remake of a classic, and you've never played it or you don't like it. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You know what I mean? That's like me like trying to take a job in IT and going in on the interview and just being like, yeah, fuck Windows. Like, you know what I mean? I don't
Right,
want to.
like
I hate Windows machines. I don't want to work on them. It's like, what
right.
the fuck? What are you doing here then? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like
Oh
yeah, you
man,
go into a job, it's like, do you know what Amazon Web Services is? It's like, no. It's like, then why did you get hired for this job? Like, what are you
yeah,
doing, man?
I know
It's
it's insane.
the same thing happened to She-Hulk. Remember the lawyer situation? Like they didn't know
Oh
how to
yeah,
write a courtroom scene.
they didn't have any courtroom writers. It's like what?
It's fucking what the fuck are you doing?
I swear, bro, if anything like that comes out for the fucking Daredevil show, I'm gonna lose my mind. Although I do have very high hopes for Daredevil. I think Feige's probably watching that very closely. He kind of knows there's there's expectations attached to that project, very high expectations,
So
and I think
important.
they know that they have to hit that one out of the park. And if they
Yes.
don't go back and just hire the fucking people that worked on the show for Netflix, like they are idiots. Like these guys created gold, literal gold. The greatest superhero TV show of all time is Daredevil, and I'll fight anybody who says anything else. Honestly, it's the best. It is, and to this day, the show came out 9 years ago now. It's the 9 year anniversary of it, and it's still unbeaten. It's incredible. It is
I
just the epiphany. It's exactly what you want in a superhero show, and the fact that it's like rated R, it's dark and gritty and it's gruesome, that just makes it so much better.
right. And
Yeah,
I honestly, dude, I agree with you 100%. It is the greatest Marvel show that has ever been printed. Netflix or Disney be damned. Like it's just it was so good.
yeah.
in its like at its time, and I'm pretty sure it would still be good if they had
I
kept going.
I watched it 6 months ago. I think whenever it went up on Disney Plus, I did a full rewatch of it again, and I'm just sitting watching it. I'm watching season one, and it's like, and again, it's one of those ones you just can't stop watching. You're just binging, like before you know it, you're 6 episodes in, and I'm just like, this show's incredible. And then season two starts, and fucking Frank Castle comes in. You're just like, oh my god! I'm like, this is just so good. And Electra comes in, and she's perfectly cast, and the story of them kind of falling in love is just so good. Oh man, it's just I can't get over it. Like, it's
It's
incredible.
amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. And then for some reason in my head, before my last watch of it, I had thought that season three fell off. I was like, did season three fall off? Or I was thinking like maybe it just like season two was so good that season three couldn't have been as good. But I'm watching season three and it's like Bullseye and Kingpin comes back and all, and I'm just like, it's fucking
It's
god
fucking
tier, man.
great.
It's incredible. The guy who played Dex in that show is 10 out of 10.
Top
Yeah,
notch, top tier
game
dude.
changing. It's incredible.
Oh
I
my
just can't
god,
get
I was
over it.
so
Like
excited to see that.
he's so good. But that's that whole series as well. I love the Nadir, the cop, the FBI agent. He's having like all the
Yeah.
family troubles, and he's trying to like get his raise and or get his promotion so he can get more money because like his family can't survive, and there's just so much shit going on. And then you've got I'm not mad on the Karen Page story, to be honest. Like I could live without it. Like I don't
Mhm.
mind Karen in the show, but I could live without her. Like if we got Foggy into the new show and Karen didn't come, I wouldn't be massively upset. I think she kind of needs to be there. Frank's going to be there, and like Maddie's going to be there. It just doesn't make sense if she's not. But if they
I,
brought everybody back except for her, I wouldn't cry about it. Let's
I
just
don't
say.
know.
But
I don't know, dude. I love Karen. Karen was a fucking badass. She fucking
yeah,
killed Wesley.
I know that
She
was cool.
fucking that
That
was
was cool.
sick.
It
She
was. It
didn't
was
she
cool.
didn't care. She's like, I'm like, you need to go.
I don't know if it's like the actress Deborah Wall or whatever her name is. I don't know if it's that. I just maybe it's like something in her acting style that I'm just not too fond of. But like
Really?
the character of Karen Page is cool. But I think it's Deborah's performance. I think it's when she cries and she gets all wobbly voiced and stuff. It gets a little annoying. Like I think there's a good stretch where she's nearly doing it every episode, and you're just kind of like, okay, Karen, shut up now. You know what I mean?
I love Deborah Ann Wool, man.
Yeah,
Like I saw her. She was in True Blood, and
yeah,
she
yeah.
did a
She was
fucking
good.
knockout
She
job.
she was great in that. Yeah, that was a great
Yeah.
show.
I would like, dude, if they would just use the same scheme from the Netflix show and put that into Moon Knight, I would fucking like that would be my all-time favorite at that point. Like I need the Midnight Mission. I
Yeah,
need that. Like do you understand, like Moon Knight is so crazy and so like he's a workaholic. All he does is do jobs. All he does is like work and work and work as a hero because he needs to, because it
yeah,
helps him. Like it's the best. Like I love that dude. And like we still haven't gotten vampires or anything yet. He hasn't moved into like the New York area or Manhattan. I think he's in that area. I can't remember if he's in Hell's Kitchen or Brooklyn or something like that. It's just
yeah.
like I would love that. I don't care. Like I don't care if he even moves to San Francisco. Just put him somewhere and just have him near some other characters that we could see every now and then.
I spoke about this on the podcast before, but I really think that Disney need to have like a rated R section of the MCU with like,
They,
Deadpool and Daredevil, Punisher, Moon Knight, Venom, whatever, like any of these guys that need to go hardcore, I think just throw them in there. And yeah, like you're dead right. I think like there needs to be like a Midnight Suns kind of whatever, like team up mission where there's a kind of dark side to the MCU, and just that's for us. Like, if they want to do Captain America movies all year long, like let them do it. Like, and I'll watch them as well. But you know what I mean? I think at this stage you need to age with your audience. Like, the fact that the MCU has been around since 2008, you know, kids who were 10 years old watching that now are in their mid 20s now. So it's like, get with the times. Like,
yep,
your fan base is growing up, grow up with it. Like, and that's
exactly.
why the Netflix shows were so successful, because they were just insanely violent, very kind of adult content, and that's what we wanted. Like, like I just can't get over how good that shit. Like the fact that show came out 9 years ago is actually wild to me. Like I remember watching it day one, like, and I was just blown away by it.
Yeah, I remember watching it too. Like I was so fucking psyched for that. Like I totally forgot that Vincent D'Onofrio was Gomer Pyle in fucking Full Metal Jacket. I
Yeah,
forgot he
yeah,
was
yeah,
Gomer Pyle.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
that's Gomer. Like
yeah,
that dude is playing that character. That's insane.
yeah,
Such a good actor
yeah,
doing this work. He's Fisk.
yeah,
100%. Like
yeah.
it's just like RDJ. Like RDJ is to Iron Man. Wilson Fisk, that's Vincent D'Onofrio. Like hands down. Like I can't see anybody else playing that character right now.
Facts, facts. Yeah. Chillin brings up Iron Fist. I wasn't crazy on Iron Fist at all, but I think it was okay. Like, if you compare it to some of the stuff that we've gotten in the last 2 years for TV, I think you'd go back and you'd actually probably be quite pleasantly surprised at how good that show is compared to some of the shit that we're getting now. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think, like, um, all things considered, like, I don't think it was that bad, but for its time, you were like, oh shit, yeah, no, this is not great. And I wasn't a big
Dude,
fan of Luke Cage either.
no, dude, I gotta say, season one, Luke Cage is baller.
Yeah.
That is my jam. Fucking Cottonmouth, Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
so
know. It was,
good. He
I
just
like,
that voice that comes in, and the fact that
yeah,
like it's in like these, you know, in the hard times, like you know, in the burbs, like doing all
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff, and you have the strong like Power Man,
I love
like
the
because
setting, and I like Mike Calder is a cool dude. Like, did I ever tell you the story that my sister knows him?
no,
Yeah, so my sister works in a restaurant in New York, and he worked in the same restaurant for ages, and he left. And my sister's not very much into like any comic book shit or anything like that, but she just casually says to me one day, "Oh, a guy I know is going to be on a Netflix show." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like what's the show?" And she's like, "Oh, it's this like superhero thing." And I was like, "Hello, tell me more. What the fuck?" And she's like, "Oh, it's like she's like, I can't remember the name of the show. It's got this girl on the front. She's got black hair." And I was like, "Jessica Jones." It's like, yeah, 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 that's the show. And I was like, "Who is it?" She's like, "Oh, his name. He's a big black guy. Like he plays this guy called Luke Cage." I was like, "Oh my!" I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "That is insane." She's like, "Yeah, yeah." He pops into he pops in to see us in the restaurant all the time and all. Like, and just crazy,
that's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool. I was like, if you want, like, next time I'm in New York, if you want him to be there at the same time, I'd love to meet him. Like, you know, be fucking pretty sick.
That would be really sick. Imagine like, oh, dude. Like and that's the thing is like, you know, say what you will about the shows. Like when you meet the actor that plays the character, you still kind of get a little giddy because it's like, you
Yeah,
play a superhero.
yeah, yeah. Like, I met the dude who, Manu Bennett, who plays Deathstroke in or in the Arrowverse, like the CW shows, and it
That
was
must
just
have been
really,
sick.
yeah, it was cool to meet him when I got him to. He signed a pop for me and all, like, and it was great. Like, it was cool to see him. And then I met Stephen Amell, who's the Green Arrow. Like, he was like my favorite superhero. Like, so that was fucking epic. Like, and these are just like, TV actors. Like, but it was still epic to hear, like, and to see him.
Yeah, dude, I love stuff like that. Like, oh my god, you play my favorite character.
Yeah, yeah, I was nerding out hard that day. Um, but yeah, like, man, like, I really hope that I really, really hope that like we get some good TV from Disney. Like, I think Disney's been just really fucking missing the mark, and I really hope that Secret Invasion is the kind of start of it. I really
Mhm.
think that they're gonna. Well, I pray, I hope. I really like. I thought the same thing with Obi-Wan Kenobi, but like, you've got Samuel L. Jackson, you've got a really good cast coming in, a really good story, hopefully. But they just kind of missed the mark with Obi-Wan. Like, I just don't. I just hope they don't do that with Secret Invasion.
Mhm.
Like, I hope we don't have to wait till 2024 to start getting some of this new, like, more focused and improved MCU that Feige's been talking about. Like, I hope we don't have to wait till next year to see that start coming through.
Right. Well, you know, thinking about it now and all that you just said, you know what's been missing in terms of these movies and shows?
Connective tissue.
Like connective tissue. Like
Yeah.
that the best way to say it. The reason why is because whenever you see things like you saw, you know, Iron Man and then Iron Man like gets hit up by, you know, Nick Fury is like, you know, we're starting up the Avengers initiative. Cool. So that means that we're going to have different characters show up in the later run. You have Iron Man 2, and then like other characters get like you like even in Iron Man 1 didn't or was it Iron Man 2 that had Thor's hammer?
The end of Iron Man 2.
Okay, so then that gives you perspective. Okay, we're going to see Thor.
Although
What
at the
came?
end of Iron Man 1, we did have the first like intro of Nick Fury, and then he
Yes,
spoke about the Avengers Initiative and so on. So
right, exactly.
like
So
we were connecting even all the way back then. So if you were a big fan and you saw Nick Fury, I wasn't the biggest Marvel reader at the time. So I remember when I first saw that, I was just like, I didn't really know Nick Fury too well. I remembered him from the Spider-Man cartoon, but I like wasn't expecting to see Samuel L. Jackson playing the character that I knew. So I didn't really kind of know of him. But diehard fans see Nick Fury and straight away they know Avengers.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And
Yeah.
like what I'm saying is that like you have these connective tissues. You see Thor's hammer. So then you're like, okay, so Thor's hammer, it was in Iron Man. So eventually we're going to see Thor and Iron Man chatting at one point, but then you get Thor. And then it's like, okay, so now that you have Thor, it's kind of going in a straight line. It's giving us each a little bit of here and there. So when I think about the Eternals and how the post credits we saw the Black Knight and we saw like the Black Blade and we heard a voice. Dude, like, are we getting that in 2024 or 25? Like, but it's been so fucking long that like I forgot about it. And then when I remember it, it's like I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
It's taking too long.
It
They're
is.
trying to tell so many different stories in the meantime, and it's making us forget about things. Like, to be honest, dude, I love Werewolf by Night, but I've already forgotten it.
Yeah.
We didn't get much.
What about oh my god, what's his name? Harry Styles' character. He's playing like Thanos' brother.
Star
That
Fox.
was Star Fox. Yeah, that was in the Eternals as well. And
Yeah,
that's another story that hasn't even been mentioned again since.
like Star Fox and Pip.
Yeah.
Like fucking like why? Why'd you do this? Why are you doing this to us? Like what is the point? Like
Yeah.
like stop yanking our chain and trying to tell us we're gonna go in this direction, and then you decide to throw the fucking ball elsewhere. It's like in some cases, like yes, we like as a viewership, like we are dogs. We are waiting. We want you to throw the ball. Please throw the ball. Please throw the ball. Throw it in the direction that we want to go. Stop pretending to throw the ball and hold on to the ball and be like, you're looking for this. Like, dude, give us our shit. Like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah, well, this is the problem, bro. Like, there's too many projects. So, back when it was Avengers 1 and there was, like 4 movie franchises happening. So, when one referenced the other, it didn't take too long for them to pop that person into the next thing. Like, whereas now it's like there's so many shows, there's so many movies. So, when you reference something here, it's going to take 2, maybe 3 years for them to make the sequel to it. It's wild.
It's just fucking ridiculous. I don't know that like we can go over the time difference that like behind the scenes. We'll take a look at the time difference to see how long it took for Thor to pop up after Iron Man 2. But like how excited were we for that? Like we had Iron Man and then the Incredible Hulk. And then like I know the majority of people don't like Incredible Hulk. I love Incredible Hulk because I'm a Hulk fan. But it still gave this timeline of like, okay, so Iron Man already happened, so then you have Incredible Hulk
They both happened in the same year, I think, didn't they? They were both 2008.
Yeah, well, the post credits for Iron Man 2, or no, for the Incredible Hulk, is a reference to Iron Man 2.
Yeah, it was Tony Stark rocking in. He's looking for Banner to join the Avengers, right?
Yeah, because then in Iron Man 2, you see that like Nick Fury showing Iron Man like a bunch of different shit that's been going on.
Yeah.
And it's like it's connecting. It's connecting,
exactly,
and it felt great.
I think Iron Man 2, if memory serves, was 2010, and then Thor was 2011. So there was like a year. I think it was kind of at that time. It was always kind of the summer blockbuster was the next Marvel movie. So there was a Marvel movie nearly every summer, and because I remember at the end of Thor, there was a trailer for the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, sorry, that was at the end of Cap, but I think Cap came out in 2011 as well. So they had Thor and Captain America in the same year, and then that just led to the Avengers in 2012, and then like I think it was 2013 was Iron Man 3, and then 2014 was like the Winter Soldier, and when it really kicked off then.
Yeah.
But even back then, it was still just movies. There was no TV kind of getting in the way. It feels like the TV shows are getting in the way now. Like,
Which
it's
it can be fine if you
yeah.
have a structured show. And
Well,
that's
I think if the TV shows were more interconnected to what's going on in the movies, I would be more okay with it.
yeah, I
Like
agree with that.
like the fact that, as you're talking about Eternals 2, for example, that movie was what? Was that movie released 2 years ago? Was that 2021? I can't even remember now. Might have been
I
2020. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, but like again, there's been probably 5 or 6 TV shows that have been out since then, and I think was it only recently in one project? I can't really remember what project it was that we got like a news article about the frozen or the stone fucking celestial in the ocean. It was
Mhm.
brought up like in a tiny little piece, like so. It's
Mhm.
like I just don't understand why. Now I know the timeline's kind of fucked up as well. Like they're really not helping themselves because like the timeline's all over the place. Like I don't know if you've gone onto Disney Plus and looked at the MCU timeline order,
Oh yeah,
but
it's
it's
fucked.
all over the place. Like projects that came out later or earlier in the timeline, and the Spider-Man stuff's not there, so you don't really know when the Spider-Man stuff is. Like it's a fucking mess, bro. It's all over the
Huge
place.
mess.
Yeah, it really is. So like, I remember flicking through and I'm like, oh, like She-Hulk is here in the timeline, and there's like projects that are actually after She-Hulk. Like there's no reference to it. So and again, because there's no connective tissue, you just don't know where anything is in the
Yeah.
timeline. It's all over the place. Like, and I'd be pretty confident to say 80% of the population of the people who are watching all this stuff don't know when the timelines are, or maybe they don't care. But I'm certainly a person that like I need to know where we are in the timeline, what's happened just before, and like what could potentially like link in, because I'm all
Mhm.
about the connective tissue. Like that's what got us, that's what made us fall in love with the MCU, was the fact that you're watching Iron Man 3 and it's like, holy shit, like there's an Age of Ultron fucking teaser coming up, or like Thanos appears in the fucking after credits scene. You're like, what the fuck, oh my god,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that was what it was all about. you know
He's coming.
Across the Spider-Verse does look fire. Yes, that was
Oh,
brought
of
up in the chat
course.
there. Like I'm
100%.
Yeah, I'm dying for that. I've heard rumors that there's going to be potentially a like Toby and Andrew appearance in that movie as well, and that just really gets me excited. Although I always
I
kind
just
of thought that Peter B. Parker was Toby. I think you're
I
meant to
thought so
think it
too. Like
is.
I
Yeah,
I really thought it was, and
because
I remember mentioning that back then.
I heard that Toby was approached to actually do that voice, and he said no. And like when you first meet him in the first movie, and you kind of the way they do the kind of retelling of their story of how they became Spider-Man and all, like all of the events that you see happening in his flashbacks are all the Toby movies. Like, so
It's all the time. Yeah,
it is
exactly.
it's Toby, and if it's not Toby, it's like a universe so fucking close like that it may as well just be him.
Well,
So
that's what I love about the multiverse, man. Like
yeah,
you can change one little thing, and that's a completely different
exactly.
universe now.
Yeah. So if it's not him, it's so fucking close that it's not funny. Like it's like a guy that like maybe just sounds a tiny bit different, but it's like all the exact same stories happening to him. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to see Toby involved. I'd love to see Andrew involved. Even Tom. Like I love Tom. Like I like all the Spider-Man. Like I think they've all brought their own thing to the table, and they've all been good in their own
Oh
ways.
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So give us more Spider-Man ASAP. Please put Spider-Man in Daredevil. Please put Daredevil in Spider-Man. Like, just start connecting the shows and the movies, because that's what we need.
Yeah, because
Like, if you do a fucking New York street level based TV show or street level based movie, and you don't have Daredevil appearing in Spider-Man and Spider-Man appearing in Daredevil, what are we here for? What are we watching it for? You know what I mean? Like, it makes
right.
no sense. Even like
Because
Spider-Man should have been in Hawkeye. I know we were saying it when we were watching it, but that
yeah,
still pisses me off. It was Christmas time in New York. Spider-Man was there. Like, why didn't he show up and help? There's a massive thing, like a big, like what looks like a um, like a terrorist attack happening outside 30 Rock, and like Spidey's around the corner. Why is he not helping? Do you know what I
right.
mean? It's
Like
just so weird.
it's weirdly not connected
Yeah,
to the point where it's like,
it
dude,
doesn't
like
make any
what are
sense.
they doing? Like, are they all going on vacation when that happens?
And like they've kind of mentioned it a few times in the MCU since, but it's like, where are the Avengers? Like, who's left? Like we know Sam's around. Like we know Rhodey's around.
But Bucky's around.
Bucky's around. Well, he's going to probably join the Thunderbolts, but well, we know that. We know that. But like there has to be some people left. Like, and what's the story with White Vision as well? Like, I think there is going to be a Vision Quest show coming. I hear, but.
Yeah.
Like again, like when did that show happen in 2020? Was it 2020 or 2020 early 21? And like
Yeah, it was like
Vision
pretty
shot up
close.
Vision shot up through the roof and just disappeared. We haven't seen him since.
Yep. And
Not
it's
one
like
mention.
and it's like I know you guys are developing the stories and whatnot, and maybe you've already shot it and maybe you're trying to edit it and whatnot, but like you're taking too long. You're
Yeah,
taking too fucking long. Hurry. Like we're like how many people are gonna care that Vision comes back? Like nobody cares at this point because they already had Wanda move on. Like
yeah,
like what do you want us to do? Like sit around and be like, oh, I wonder where Vision is. Like I don't care anymore. Like when you
yeah.
mention it, I'm like, oh god, I forgot about that guy. Like
I
it's
know.
and that's
It's not.
bad. You
It
don't
is.
ever want to do that for for shows or movies. Like you don't ever want to like holy shit, like that guy, who cares? Like
Yeah,
that's horrible.
I know. And there is so much of that happening now. Like I'd say a lot of people. Now, I personally I like Kate Bishop, and I love
I love Kate
Hawkeye.
Bishop.
I want to see where their characters are going, but I can understand why a lot of people might be like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about them. Same with like Yelena, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of characters in the MCU right now that are just kind of they could be throwaway at this stage. Like if you
Right.
heard that, like if it turned around and it was announced tomorrow that there was never going to be a She-Hulk project again, I'd say the vast majority of people would be like, and
Okay.
yeah, and
And and that's and that's sad for me because I
I know,
love
I
those
know, I know,
characters.
I know, and I want to see more She-Hulk as well. I'd love to see her on the big screen, like in a young Avengers team or in the Avengers or whatever. Like just put her in a team with people and let her have some fun. Like I think it would actually work.
I
But
think
I
the
don't want to see another solo project from her.
I think the rumor is that she's either going to show up in Captain America: New World Order or the Thunderbolts. I can't remember which one.
And yeah, that makes sense because you've got Thunderbolt Ross and the Red Hulk and all that sort of thing. So yes, it makes a lot of sense for her to pop up there. But like, yeah, I don't know, bro.
So,
Like it's like
dude,
the next show that comes out. Like why? Like if this was the old MCU, the next show that comes out, you would expect She-Hulk to be in there somewhere, right?
yeah,
But I think again, this is just the MCU is too big now. Like you can't just have everybody popping into the next project, like
dude, it's not even that it's too big. It's just they don't know what to do with the characters because
Yeah,
they're like it's so fucking tossed around nowadays. Like if we don't get like I'm jumping all over the place right here. If we don't get Moon Knight soon, I guarantee you people are gonna be like, oh yeah, that was a fun one. What's he gonna do now? We haven't heard from it at all. Like it's just it shouldn't turn into this nonchalant like, oh yeah, that guy. It should be like, holy fuck, he's back.
yeah,
Holy shit, we're gonna see Jake. We're gonna see Jake Lockley. We're gonna see like all the characters that like all his personalities. Where is he gonna be? If he's gonna stay, where is he in London right now?
mm,
Was
did
he
the
in
show
London?
at the start of the show? Absolutely. I just can't remember. Did it end in London? I don't know. I think it
It
ended
did. It
in
did.
Cairo. No.
No. It ended in London
Okay.
because they went back because things kind of went back to normal. They basically got into the limo or like the chauffeur, and it turned
Mhm.
out to be Jake Lockley kind of thing for the post
Yeah.
credits.
Yeah.
So like obviously Khonshu is having him do his bidding, which is great. Like that's part of the show. That's part of the story. Like that works. Like fuck yeah. Like but how long until we see a season 2? It's not even confirmed that there's a season 2 yet. And that's so depressing
Yeah.
because it's like you had a character you have a character that people like that the show was like doing well enough to be like, yeah, that was good.
Hmm.
Keep going. It's just like with the Mandalorian. Keep going. Like
Yeah.
push it.
I think if I personally, I didn't mind the show. I have no desire to rewatch it. And if again, it's one of those ones where if I heard that there was never going to be a project with Moon Knight again, like his own solo project, I wouldn't care.
I'd be
If
upset, dude. That
if you
character is so fucking awesome. You
but
have
if I
no idea.
but if well, I've read a few of the comics and they were great. They were a lot better than the show. That's the fact.
Yes,
But
exactly.
if I heard that he was going to pop into Blade, or if he was going to be doing a show with like Dark Knight or something, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I'm down for that.
Yeah, that
But
works.
I don't need Moon Knight season 2. That's the
I
point.
need Moon Knight. I just
Yeah.
need Moon Knight. I don't care about a season 2. I
Well,
just
yeah.
need Moon Knight. Just throw Moon Knight somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's what's probably going to happen. I think we're going to see a couple of characters come together in projects. Like, I think we'll get Dark Knight, Moon Knight, and Blade maybe in the Blade movie, and then that might trickle out into a Midnight Suns project or something like that.
Well, okay. So let me pull back. I want to see Moon Knight everywhere, like with Blade and with the Black Knight,
Yeah.
because those are supernatural. Like those are characters that deal with supernatural things or mythical things. So, like after that, please start the Midnight Mission so that we can
Mhm.
get the vampires. Like,
Yeah.
give us a reason to have vampires in the show or in the MCU, because it's already been confirmed that vampires exist.
Yeah, they were
But
mentioned. I think they were referenced twice. Were they referenced? Where were
they
they
were
referenced?
referenced by Korg and in the Loki show.
And I think they
What
were mentioned in Eternals as well. Because I think
in
isn't there?
Eternals too?
Yeah, there was a joke where Kinga's fucking assistant was. He was like, "Oh, I thought he was a vampire or something." He makes a
Okay.
joke about him being a vampire. Yeah,
Yeah.
before he found out he was an Eternal. Like,
So then there's mentions,
yeah.
and so so that means that Dracula exists, because Dracula exists in the Marvel comics, which is
Oh
fucking
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And I want and that's the one thing I want Blade to show up,
Could
but
you
I also want
imagine?
Moon Knight to show up.
Could you imagine fucking Daredevil fighting vampires in New York?
I mean, that'd
Shit,
be
it'd be
cool,
wild,
dude.
dude.
Dude,
Wild.
dude, like, like we have Marvel zombies. Why don't we just do Marvel vampires? Like, wouldn't it be cool to just have like the Marvel characters all get turned into vampires and they have to find a cure?
I love vampires, bro. And like, there's a DC run at the moment called DC versus Vampires, and it's like a mini series that's going on in like an alternate universe. Like, this is one thing why I love DC. Why I love reading DC comics is because they do so many like fucking multiverse stories where it's just like, this story doesn't exist in the main storyline right now, so they can do whatever they want. Like, the amount of these like stories where like, Bruce Wayne will die and you're like, Jesus Christ, Batman's dead again, but it's like, it's a separate universe, so it doesn't matter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they have all these, like, there's one where it's like DC versus zombies, there's one that's DC versus vampires, and the vampire story is fucking incredible. Like, the zombie one is really good too, but there's like it's mind blowing how good these are. It's
Yeah.
so good. Like, and like,
Well,
the MCU need to be doing this sort of stuff. I think, like, do a vampire show. Like, fucking teenagers love vampires. You know what I mean? So you're
yeah.
gonna get teenagers and adults watching that. You might not get the very young kids watching it. I think take the hit, like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck it. Like, those kids will be
Yeah.
old enough in a couple of years to go back and watch it again and then watch season 3. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
why not?
Well, that and it's funny that you mentioned the whole multiverse thing for DC. DC has definitely done a lot. Marvel has done a lot as well. It's just not very like put out there. Did you know that there's a universe where all the Marvel heroes are animals?
Like,
Like there's Spider
like
Monkey.
dinosaurs? Oh, okay,
There's
right.
like it like I think Captain America I think is a gorilla. Um,
Gee.
like
Love it.
it's cool. Like but like that makes sense, because like you have a universe where there's a guy named Spider Ham who's a
Yeah.
who's a pig that got bit by a radioactive spider.
Yep. And
Like,
we've seen him in Into the Spider-Verse, like, so.
and he was great because he wasn't annoying.
No, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah. And
Loved it.
like there's things like that. There's there's a universe where basically like everyone's a Hulk.
Mm.
It's like there's universe where nobody has their powers or very few people have their powers. There's different universes where the strain of like a serum like screwed up their genes, and so now all their living like or their powers themselves are basically like mirroring on them and causing problems. And it's like it's hard for me to explain because it gets really fucking weird. Like,
Yeah.
but it's what if Captain America's serum didn't work well and it actually like ruined him and he became like a pustuled character, kind of stuff like that. Like what if Deadpool just became in a mass of cancer and just couldn't, like, it's things like that. Like I love stuff like that because it gets really dark. It's really
Yeah.
interesting that way. But like I agree with you 100%. Like if DC's like showcasing that right now and they're doing like DC versus vampires, they're interested in that universe again. They want to deal with vampires. And so
Yeah.
like who's to say you don't get into the supernatural things? Like we had Werewolf by Night. Like
Yeah, I think they're trying to dip the toe in. They really are, like, to be fair. And I think in a couple of years, what we're talking about, I think could all be reality. I really do think so. And I think that's where it needs to go. Like you look at the CW, like they do shows like, the Vampire Diaries. They do shows like Supernatural, where it's all this kind of ghosts and fucking whatever. Everything's in that show. Like,
it's
but like
fun.
it's great. It's great. And I think they need to be trying to bring that, like, if you can bring the people who love that sort of stuff into the MCU with good directing, with good storytelling, with good writing, like, you know what I mean, you're onto a winner. Like, because
Yeah,
those genres just bring people in automatically all the time. Like, like shitty horror,
exactly.
like supernatural horror, vampire stuff, zombie stuff. Like, it's projects like that will be alive forever because they just have that automatic fan base built in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why shitty horror movies get made every year, because people just love them no matter what. And nearly the worse that they are, the better that they are. You know what I mean? It's like, but like seriously, like, like some of these like shitty kind of slasher movies, it's nearly the worse it is, the better it is. So
Right.
I think, like, and again, I don't want Marvel to start making shit content, but I think if they start dipping into the whole supernatural thing slash like vampire stuff, they could make some real hit shows. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
the Vampire Diaries, for example, was on the CW for like 8 years. They went for 8 seasons. Supernatural went for 15 years. I started watching Supernatural in 2007, and I watched it every single week until the day it ended. So that I was watching that for fucking 12 years. You know what I mean? That show means everything to me. Like, I love that show. So, like, imagine Marvel start making content like that.
Yeah, dude.
No brainer.
Renfield just released,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it
as
looks fun.
much of a shit show it was, like it has a 3.9 rating with mostly fives. So like it's still doing well. People like it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it because not only is it Nick Cage, but it's also vampires. Like why not?
Nick
You know?
Cage is a vampire. Like, it's win-win for me. Like, but again, I'm not going to pay money to go see that in the theater. Like, I'll stream it or something. Like, but I can see the fun in it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, for sure. I loved Supernatural, chilling. It was one of my favorite shows. I'm actually gonna
I,
get like a Supernatural inspired tattoo. Like, that's how important that show is to me.
I really like True Blood. Like
True
that
Blood
was
was
a fun.
great. Yeah, fantastic show. Fantastic. Loved it.
Mhm.
Really loved it. Um, yeah, look, we're at an hour and a half, dude. So again, I'm surprised we went an hour and a half today. We're getting really in our stride of just sitting here and chatting shit. So it's this is the point, right? This is it. It's marvelous chats. Um,
Exactly.
I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. I'm trying to
Is it
think
like a
here.
blank slate right now?
It might be, yeah, it might be. Now we might talk offline about maybe something to do, or guys, if you're listening to this and you want to comment below, maybe some topics on what we should talk about next week, leave it in the comment section, and we'll get a good conversation going. I know on Friday, Star Wars Jedi Survivor's out, so I'll definitely be playing that on stream over on Twitch. That comes out on Friday.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, look, I'm gonna be fucking balls deep in that game, like on my stream then for the next like couple of weeks, and hopefully I've got a new graphics card coming soon. So I might do a playthrough of it with my current setup, and then I might do another one with the better setup. I might like up the graphics and play it again.
Nice.
I'm very excited about that game. Like Jedi Order was or Fallen Order, sorry, was like one of my favorite games of the last couple of years. Like, I fucking love that game so much. I played it 3 times. Like, and I don't usually go back and play games that much because I don't get to game that much. So the fact that I
Mhm.
played that game 3 times should tell you everything you need to know. Like, it's incredible. So, and the new game just looks fucking brilliant. I cannot wait. So yeah, look, guys, if you're new to the channel, consider dropping a subscription, leave a like on the video as well. If you're listening to this on a replay, I thank you for hanging out with us for so long. It's been great, and leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think, and we'll talk to you in the next one. All right, guys, take it easy. Bye.